Halloween night, 1999, three best friends, including Dean Stanton, JT Levine, and Wes Jesany, hatch a plan to prank their grumpy neighbor. Their master plan? Light a bag of dog poop on fire and leave it on the porch. Classic, right? But things don't go as smoothly as they hoped. The flaming bag of dog dew ignites the scarecrow decoration, and soon the fire spreads wildly out of control. The boys, in sheer panic, desperately try to extinguish the blaze, but to no avail. Just as the sound of approaching sirens fills the air, Dean has a stroke of genius. He rips a piece of fabric from his costume, scribbles the name Ricky Stanicky on it, and leaves it behind as a false clue. When the cops arrive, they find the mysterious piece of cloth, but come up empty-handed looking for any Ricky Stanicky in the school system. They conclude he must be some out-of-town troublemaker wreaking havoc. Meanwhile, Dean, JT, and Wes share a sigh of relief, their secret safe and their prank going down in their own history books as an epic win. Throughout their teenage years, the boys master the art of using Ricky Stanicky as their go-to excuse for every sticky situation they created. Fast forward 25 years, and the legend of Ricky still lives on. Dean, Zac Efron, is now dating Erin, Lex Scott Davis, a sharp and inquisitive journalist. He works alongside JT, Andrew Santino, who's eagerly awaiting the arrival of his first child with his wife Susan, Anja Savchik. Life seems to be moving forward smoothly until Dean gets an unexpected call from Wes, Jermaine Fowler. Wes, now a lovable slacker who spends his days getting high at home with his boyfriend, proposes a wild idea. They should pretend to be Ricky to sneak off to Atlantic City for a Marc Rebillet concert. The guys spin an elaborate tale to their partners who only know Ricky through the guy's wild stories. They concoct a heart-tugging excuse that Ricky's testicular cancer has returned, and they need to visit him in Albany, New York. With a mixture of concern and skepticism, the ladies reluctantly agree, setting the stage for another legendary escapade under the guise of Ricky Stanicky. After catching the show, the guys decide to wind down at a local bar. There, they encounter Rod Rhymstead, John Cena, a performer whose luck has clearly seen better days. He's known for his outrageous act, performing masturbation-themed parodies of popular rock songs at a club under the name Rock Hard Rod. Rod, clearly desperate for some positive attention, approaches the group. JT, not in the mood for any nonsense, tells Rod to scram. Feeling a bit guilty, Dean chases after him to apologize. Just as they're talking, Rod sees a couple of menacing thugs eyeing him from across the bar. Panicked, he shoves his business card into Dean's hand and bolts out the door, leaving Dean both confused and amused by the bizarre encounter. While the guys are in the middle of their celebration, Dean suddenly notices a slew of missed calls and frantic messages. Susan is going into labor 6 weeks early. In a mad dash, they rush back home, only to discover that Susan has already given birth to a baby boy named Whitaker. Susan's no-nonsense mother, Leona Heather Mitchell, wastes no time in grilling JT and the gang about their whereabouts and the true existence of this mysterious Ricky Stanicky. Just as Wes is about to spill the beans, Dean and JT swiftly cut him off. They concoct yet another elaborate story, claiming Ricky is, in fact, cancer-free and had been celebrating his recovery with them. To top it off, they embellish Ricky's character even further, boasting about his extensive charity work. The room is left in a mix of disbelief and laughter as Leona tries to make sense of this new, increasingly absurd version of Ricky Stanicky. After leaving the hospital, the guys are in full-blown panic mode. Susan has just invited Ricky to Whitaker's bris. Realizing they can't keep up their facade much longer, Dean has a wild idea: hire an actor to play Ricky and keep the charade going. Dean reaches out to Rod, who is currently performing in a hilarious Britney Spears getup. When Rod spots the two burly guys from earlier, he quickly agrees to Dean's crazy plan. The guys pick up Rod at the airport, and he looks absolutely dreadful because he's chosen to quit drinking cold turkey. They hand him their Bible, a hilarious, elaborate document detailing the fictional history of Ricky Stanicky. With only a short time before the breeze, they give Rod a crash course in becoming the ultimate Ricky, hoping he can nail the role, despite his less-than-stellar condition. At the bris, JT is horrified to find out that Susan has invited his and Dean's boss, Ted Summerhays, played by William H. Macy. Leona is relentless, pressuring the guys to finally admit that Ricky Stanicky is nothing but a figment of their imagination. Just as things are about to unravel, Rod bursts in, fully committed to his Ricky Stanicky persona. Erin and Susan are immediately charmed by Ricky, and Erin's cousin Carly, Apple Farrelly, is equally smitten. Dean and JT nervously introduce Rod to Summerhays, who is initially put off by Rod's seemingly brash comments about him being a showy rich guy. However, Rod's sharp insights and clever advice on the merger with World River quickly wins Summerhays over. Rod even manages to have a heart-to-heart with Wes's boyfriend, Keith, Daniel Monks, who is convinced that Ricky and Wes had a fling. Keith opens up to Rod, expressing his frustration with Wes's lack of ambition and his hope that Wes will start taking life more seriously. Amidst the chaos, Rod's performance as Ricky Stanicky is nothing short of legendary, turning a potentially disastrous situation into a series of hilarious and unexpected victories. The guys hit a snag when Rod seems to recognize one of the guests, Carly's ex, Gary Polisner, Jackson Tozer. Panic sets in as they worry that Polisner might expose their ruse. In a desperate move, Wes pulls out a ketamine pill, suggesting they trick Polisner into taking it by mixing it with nuts during a game. But their plan backfires spectacularly when Rabbi Greenberg, Jeff Ross, swoops in and unknowingly swallows the pill himself. As the ketamine starts to kick in, Rabbi Greenberg is about to perform the circumcision on little Whitaker. The drug's effects cause him to bungle the job, leaving the poor boy only half circumcised. In a heroic and utterly ridiculous move, Rod grabs Summerhays' cigar cutter and finishes the circumcision, earning cheers and applause from the stunned guests. After the party, the guys pay Rod for his Oscar-worthy performance and send him on his way, but Rod, now fully embracing his new identity, insists on being called Ricky. The trio then head to a bar where they toast to Rod's unforgettable antics before finally deciding it's time to retire the legend of Ricky Stanicky once and for all. The next morning, Dean and JT are in for a shock when they discover that Summerhays was so impressed with Ricky that he hired him as a new employee. Panic-stricken, they confront Rod, demanding that he drop the act and disappear from their lives. But Rod is fully committed to his new persona and refuses to back down. Things take an even more absurd turn when Erin arrives, excitedly telling Dean that she landed a Hero of the Week segment on a major network. She proudly announces that she submitted Ricky's story of doing charity work, inspired by Dean's off-the-cuff lie that Ricky was heading to Nairobi to help with the Ebola outbreak. Now, with Rod entrenched in their lives and a national TV segment about to air, Dean and JT are knee-deep in the hilarious chaos they created. The gang finds themselves at the bowling alley with Erin, Susan, and Carly, and of course Rod can't resist trying to flirt with Carly. He compliments her hair, which is famously long and a frequent topic of conversation, but he takes it up a notch by calling it absolutely gorgeous. Things take a hilarious turn when Carly's hair gets tangled up in the bowling ball return system. Panic ensues as everyone tries to figure out what to do. In a surprising act of heroism, Rod rips off the back hatch, shutting down the machine just in time to free Carly from her hairy predicament. Dean and JT hatch a mischievous plan to get Rod fired by making him look incompetent in front of Summerhays just before a crucial presentation to the company's board of directors. Rod suggests the company should become more charitable, a proposal that initially seems like a disaster waiting to happen. However, to everyone's shock, Summerhays supports Rod's pitch. Things take a comical twist when Rod later shows the guys a video of Summerhays giving a speech. The way Summerhays moves his hands makes it look like he's enthusiastically air-dicking or smoking invisible dongs. Summerhays watches in horror, realizing how absurd he looks. Mortified, he decides to put Ricky in charge of the merger, effectively replacing Dean. When Rod tries to record Dean for tips on managing the merger, Dean snaps and shoves Rod into a closet. Amidst the cramped chaos, they scuffle until Dean loses his cool and demands Rod to drop the Ricky act. With a smirk, Rod pulls out a new ID, revealing he legally changed his name to Richard Barbara Stanicky. Their brawl resumes until Dean finally calms down and admits the charade has spiraled out of control, jeopardizing Erin's career and their relationship. Rod confesses he's actually enjoying his new life as Ricky and is scared of losing it. Later, Dean unwinds at a bar with Wes, where it's revealed that Dean's history of lying started as a coping mechanism to deal with his abusive father. The next morning, Dean decides it's time to come clean to Erin about Ricky. To his surprise, Erin reveals she knew the whole time because Nairobi hasn't had Ebola in ages, and she only fibbed about the Hero of the Week segment to mess with him. What really irked her, she confesses, wasn't the lies themselves, but the fact that Dean and his buddies used them to do fun things without her, like going to Dollywood. Feeling thoroughly roasted and guilty, Dean decides to give her some space and leaves. Everyone gathers at a lively party between Summerhays and World River, eagerly awaiting the Hero of the Week segment. Sensing the impending doom, Dean decides to bite the bullet and confesses to the crowd that Ricky Stanicky never existed, taking full blame for the elaborate lie. As he prepares to face the music and possibly get fired, the projector flickers on. To everyone's surprise, a camera crew had interviewed Rod earlier and captured the whole saga. Though his stint as Ricky Stanicky was exposed as a sham, Rod's genuine tale of reinventing himself and working for Summerhays turns out to be an inspiring story of second chances. Rod gives a heartfelt shout-out to Dean, JT, and Wes for being the catalysts of his transformation. The crowd, instead of being angry, is moved and cheers for the trio, turning what could have been a disaster into an unexpectedly heartwarming moment. Dean, relieved and amused, can't help but grin at the crazy turn of events. The World River executives rush over to Dean and Summerhays, buzzing with excitement about finalizing their deal. Grinning from ear to ear, Dean and Summerhays eagerly accept the proposal. Later, Dean finds Aaron, who has decided to air the Hero of the Week story on Rod anyway. Dean, looking sheepish, apologizes for all his lies. Aaron, while admitting it will take some time to forgive him, plays a recording Rod sent her. In it, Dean confesses that Aaron is the best thing in his life and he was terrified of losing her. Just when things seem to be settling down, a group of thugs shows up, seemingly ready to confront Rod. The tension breaks as it turns out they're actually process servers, delivering Rod a cease and desist order from Billy Idol for using his songs with, let's say, less than appropriate lyrics. Instead of being upset, Rod is over the moon, thrilled that Billy Idol has even noticed his act. The party erupts in laughter, turning what could have been a tense moment into a hilarious and unforgettable night. An epic after-party kicks off where Rod proudly announces to the crew that he's now dating Carly and might even pop the question soon. This leads the guys to raise their glasses one last time, toasting to Ricky Stanicky, proclaiming him the best friend they ever had.